A very special guest, a young Sikh human rights activist, a young Canadian human rights activist, Jatinder Singh. Jay, everybody calls him Jay. Jatinder Singh is the Director of International Policy in a Canadian NGO by the name of Sikhs for Justice. And he's very active. And he has a message, and he would like to share a few things with the Pakistani people. And I have him here on my show because I think we should listen to his perspective and understand really what's going on with the Sikhs in India, because whatever happens in India impacts really also the security of Pakistan and the region. So without further ado, thank you very much, Jay, for joining me. Let me begin with the very first question that comes to my mind. Looking at you, you look so young. You're involved in such a difficult cause, and you're so young. Really, what motivates you?
Thank you, Ahmed, for those kind words. Well, what motivates me is, I guess, the same thing that motivates any young man and woman to stand up and do the right thing. Today in Pakistan, you guys have thousands of people who are willing to lay down their lives to defend the independence and the security of Pakistan. The same thing that motivates them motivates myself. You know, I want to stand up and do what's right for the Sikh people who have been wronged by the Indians, and this injustice needs to stop and justice must be served. So in essence, I would say justice. That's what motivates me.
Jay, if you could tell me about the Khalistan movement a little bit, because I know a lot of people in the world don't know about this. When did it start really, and why did the Sikh people feel the need for a separate homeland?
Well, when Punjab or when South Asia becomes independent and the British leave, right away the Sikhs start feeling discrimination under India. One of the first circulars that was issued by the then Deputy Prime Minister Patel was that the Sikhs are a criminal tribe and that the harshest punishment must be mitigated out to them so that they may wake up to the new political reality. You know, it's important to note that when South Asia becomes independent and the British depart, the British recognize three distinct people: the Hindus, the Muslims, and the Sikhs. And each were offered their own independent country back, in essence. And with the solemn promises of Nehru and Gandhi, the Sikhs opted to stay within India in the hopes that they would be, they would fulfill their promises. So upon 1947, the Sikhs started to realize that, hey, this is a problem. When 1950, the Indian Constitution is framed, the Indians legally denied the existence of Sikhism as a religion. And this is in the so-called secular India, where they say that, all people are equal. But in the Constitution, they state that Sikhism is a sect, more or less, of Hinduism, that the word Hindu will construe to mean Sikhs, and that Hindu religious laws will be put on Sikhs. So this violation of their religion, this identifying them as, criminals, more or less dehumanizing them, and the last step was they attacked the Punjabi language. They said that Punjabi should not be spoken in Punjab. Instead, the Punjabi people must adopt Hindi as their language. So right away, the movement to reject this genocide of our culture and, realizing that the promises that Nehru and Gandhi made will not be fulfilled, that's in essence when it started. So basically, since independence, the Sikhs have been struggling for one way or another to become independent.
Okay, if you could also just inform us or just brief us, what happened really in 1984? Why is that number, that year, is so important to all the Sikhs that I meet? And what sparked those riots that happened in India in 1984? And if you could just tell me also the number of Sikh people killed by the Indian government in that year.
Ahmed, it's important that we use the correct language. The Indians have weaponized language, and they use terms like riots to hide the true nature of the crime. 1984 was a genocide. What had happened was Indira Gandhi attacked the Harmandir Sahib in June of 1984. Many Sikhs felt that she would never be punished and the Sikhs would never receive any justice within the Indian system. As a result, two of her own bodyguards decided to take action and they assassinated her. Some say this was justice, some say this is an act of violence. Again, the debate can go on. But what happened after was that the Indians systematically eliminated as many Sikhs as they could all across India. And this is well documented in the Indians' own commissions, the last commission being the Nanavati Commission. Justice Nanavati says that the government of India systematically planned to exterminate as many Sikhs. They used public buses, they used public radio, they used the police. They all had the same uniform weapon and the same method of killing. They had leaders of these death squads. They weren't mobs. And they went around conducting a genocide to teach the Sikhs a lesson. Again, it's important to know that language is very important. They weren't anti-Sikh riots and they weren't mobs. They were the 1984 Sikh genocide, and they were led by political leaders, guarded by police, and had a uniformed command and control in which they did the exact same method of killing all across India. It was death squads and it was a genocide.
Okay, Jay, my last question. I understand that some of your colleagues and friends were in Pakistan at Nankana Sahib for the annual pilgrimage. How did they find us, the Pakistani people?
Very positive about the treatment they received in Nankana Sahib, and it's important to know that Punjabi people, irrespective of where they are, have a similar heritage. We have the same language, the same food, the same culture, and this brotherhood, this oneness is prevalent in Pakistan and in Nankana Sahib, where everybody was treated with such respect, and they're very grateful that some of our places of worship have been in Pakistan where they can now go and have meetings and discuss things without the Indians interfering, without the Indians attempting to circumvent and intervene. So it's amazing. They were very positive about the atmosphere there, the conditions of our Guru Ghats, the security and the safety that was provided. It was an amazing situation. So in closing, Ahmed, I'd like to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity to address the Pakistani people. And I'd like to say that the issue of Khalistan is gonna get bigger and bigger as the years go by. And it's an issue that the Pakistani people are going to have to look at. India intervened into Bangladesh when they felt that, or East Pakistan, when they felt that the Bengali people were being oppressed by Pakistan's army. Now, whether that's true or not is a different debate, but India said they had the right to intervene. Today, the situation in Punjab is such that the police are arresting people who speak out against Indian occupation. The police are intimidating people. They have AK-47 wielding army officials walking around Punjab. The Sikhs want to be free. Having and promoting a referendum in Punjab is one of the best ways to do this. Some of your elected officials will be at the United Nations. This is a great place to highlight the issue of Punjab. And if any one of your viewers goes on to the internet, they can see that the Indians are already pointing the finger at Pakistan. They're saying that the Pakistanis are responsible for this. They're responsible for the police that killed the innocent Sikhs. It's absurd, the accusations that are coming. If these accusations continue to come, why shouldn't the Pakistanis intervene? You have the moral right, you have the legal right, and you have the historical right. Morally, the Sikhs are being oppressed. Legally, the law internationally states that all people have the right to self-determination. And historically, India has intervened in your country when they believe similar circumstances existed. So in closing, I just want to say, please take the steps necessary to make this a peaceful transition and help us to do a referendum in Punjab, India. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jatinder Singh, Director for International Policy at the Sikhs for Justice Canadian NGO, joining me on video link from Ontario, Canada. Thank you very much. And just before I go, I received this very interesting picture from some friends in Indian-occupied Kashmir. They still have this thing which measures the distance between Srinagar and the closest Pakistani cities, Sialkot and Lahore. It's a very interesting picture. And इसी पे मेरा प्रोग्राम ख़त्म है. कल इंशाल्लाह मुलाकात होगी. उस वक्त के लिए आप मुझे इजाज़त दीजिए. अल्लाह हाफ़िज़.